This is MoneyWise Daily, smarter money, real-life results. Let me tell you something about money that most people don't understand. It's not about how much you make. It's about how you think. The richest 1% don't just earn more. They operate by a different set of rules, a different mindset. And the best part? You don't need to be born into wealth to adopt these habits. You just need to see the game for what it really is. I've spent my career studying how money works, and one of the most eye-opening books I've ever read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Now, I know some people dismiss it as oversimplified, but that's exactly why it's so powerful. It strips away the noise and gets to the core of what separates the wealthy from everyone else. And let me tell you, the difference isn't just in the numbers, it's in the habits. Chaps chas. The first habit: the rich buy assets, the poor buy liabilities. Here's a story for you. I once met a guy who made $200,000 a year. He had a great job, a nice house, and a shiny new car. But every month he was broke. Why? Because he was living on a treadmill. His expenses grew with his income, and he never had anything left over. He thought he was rich because he could afford nice things. But in reality, he was just a well-paid slave to his lifestyle. Now, contrast that with someone who makes half as much but owns rental properties, stocks, or a business. They might not drive the fanciest car or live in the biggest house, but they're building wealth because they're putting their money to work for them. This is the first habit of the rich. They buy assets that generate income, not liabilities that drain it. A house you live in, that's a liability. It costs you money. A rental property? That's an asset. It puts money in your pocket. A car? Liability. A business that runs without you. Asset. The second habit, the rich think in terms of cash flow, not income. Most people focus on how much they make. The rich focus on how much they keep. There's a huge difference. Let me tell you about a client I had years ago. He was a doctor making $300,000 a year. But he was drowning in debt, student loans, credit cards, a mortgage. He thought his high income would save him, but it didn't. Why? Because he was spending more than he earned. The rich, on the other hand, think about cash flow. They ask, how can I make my money work for me? They reinvest their earnings into assets that generate more income. They don't just spend, they build. Diwan. The third habit: the rich work to learn, not just to earn. This is one of the most important lessons from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Most people work for money. The rich make money work for them. But here's the deeper truth. The rich also work to learn, not just to earn. Let me give you an example. I know a guy who started as a janitor. He wasn't making much, but he spent his free time reading books on investing, taking courses, and networking with people who knew more than he did. Over time, he learned how to invest in real estate, and now he's financially free. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich work to acquire skills that make them money, even when they're not working. The fourth habit: the rich take calculated risks. Here's a hard truth. If you want to be wealthy, you have to take risks. But not reckless risks, calculated ones. I've seen too many people play it safe their whole lives, only to retire with just enough to get by. Meanwhile, someone who took a smart risk, starting a business, investing in real estate, or learning a high-income skill, ends up with far more. The rich understand that risk is part of the game. They don't gamble, they assess, they prepare, and they act. The fifth habit: the rich focus on wealth, not just money. This is the biggest mindset shift of all. Most people think wealth is about having a lot of money, but the rich know wealth is about having options. It's about freedom. Freedom to choose how you spend your time, freedom to say no to things you don't want to do, freedom to live life on your terms. The poor and middle class trade time for money. The rich trade money for time. Yasin. The bottom line: the richest 1% don't have some secret formula. They just operate by a different set of rules. And the best part, you can adopt these habits right now. Start thinking like an owner, not a worker. Focus on cash flow, not just income. Work to learn, not just to earn. Take calculated risks. And above all, focus on building wealth, not just making money. As Robert Kiyosaki says, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. And that's the truth. So what's your next move? Thanks for tuning in to MoneyWise Daily. If this sparked something in you, share it with someone who thinks about wealth the way you do.